Hi, I'm Greg Graffin from Bad Religion. Welcome to Launch. I would strongly urge everyone to go to www.badreligion.com if they're interested in having some understanding about punk, because on there there's a essay about where I tried to define what punk is. And it's amazing to me that this entity called punk rock has been around for 25 years at least, and no one has attempted to define it. And in my definition, which, by the way, is only an attempt. It's got to start somewhere. In that definition, though, it's clear that punk has nothing to do with fashion, and I will debate anyone who wants to talk about that punks have to look a certain way. It has nothing to do with violence, and I'll debate anyone who wants to say that you have to be mean and tough in order to be punk. It clearly has nothing to do with that, because there are people from vastly different cultures who love punk and they feel punk, and they are, some of them are Buddhists, so there's no violence in the definition of punk. But certainly what has changed over time is not the original identity or the feeling of what it means to be punk, but the fashion of punk has changed. And to me, that's irrelevant, because it doesn't matter what's selling this week. It doesn't matter what clothes are cool in the punk scene. What matters is the ideology, and that's remained intact now throughout its history. There's no reason to do a new album if you don't have something that is both relevant and meaningful to you to say. If they don't fit those two criteria, then don't even do an album, because you're just milking your last album for all it's worth. Every time that I sit down to write, it's because I have something I want to share, and it's something that the band can get behind, and we think it's important to hear. And the relevance of Bad Religion doesn't seem to be waning, so we figure it's time to put on another show and do another album. We are so lucky to be in a position where people want to hear our music. I mean, that in itself is something that we recognize every day, how privileged we are. So we look at tours as a privilege and as a necessary part of maintaining our desires to make music. That's part of why we do this. And so it gets to be a little bit tedious, all the road miles logged, but every night in front of the audience, all of that is forgotten, because it's so rewarding, and the people, it means a lot to them, and that's really all I ever focus on is the excitement in the audience, and that justifies all of the tedium of traveling.
The thought of punk hasn't changed for me, because my dad called me a punk when I was 8. It didn't even exist yet, but I remember vividly, "You're such a punk," and I just thought, that's cool. I wonder what that means, right? That's great. And that's basically someone who just travels against the grain, goes against the tide of normal convention, and says, I don't agree with what everybody thinks is normal. And that's not really my fault. Maybe I'm crazy, but I'm okay. And I don't feel bad about the decisions that I make. It's just I challenge what you think is normal. And you don't have to have short hair or ripped pants. You can be a scientist in a white coat in a laboratory thinking, I'm going to challenge this scientific philosophy because I don't agree with it. That's punk to me, just as it is individuals saying, look, we're not going to allow specific corporations to come into our neighborhood. We're going to have a neighborhood vote to keep McDonald's off of our street corner. I don't know why, but maybe that's kind of punk. It's like, okay, cool, you're making a stand. You're really going against what normal people would just let roll right on in. So it's kind of more in the brain than it is anywhere else. it's probably harder on Greg because he's writing the majority of the material, and when he does introduce it, we're the first people to destroy it and nitpick it and say this sounds like this and this sounds like that. So we all take it upon ourselves to try to think about how to make this different than the last thing. And the last two records we've talked a lot about. We started this thing with ourselves in 1988-ish of doing this specific style, and now maybe it's gotten to the point where we're kind of in with everybody else, and now you're just part of this package. And so we said, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to worry about writing the fastest record in the world, and I don't want to worry about does this record sound like everything else that's coming out right now. That's just staying with the status quo, and that's not really what we started out doing, and it's certainly not what I want to do now. So we're always trying to find ways to take each song and make it not only unique for us, but unique in comparison to what else is out there. Oh, that's what I think. I think, oh, man. But once you get there, the days suck because it's 22 hours of sitting around and then a couple of hours of just wonderful excitement and then back to sitting around. So you need to find things to bide your time with. And that's the challenge. I've seen all the museums and been to all the libraries and all the art galleries, and that's great. It's a great opportunity.